Okay. Today, we have the most special guest that we could ever have, our mommy.
Our mommy!
We've told a lot of, Ryan's story from our perspective and the story of his case and the facts and the this and the that. And there's really nothing like the love of a mother. And as we've been thinking about this journey that we're on, sharing ourselves and our story, it's almost just not right to not have Ryan's mom get to say her piece on her experience with her child. And she was on the front lines of everything with him from start to finish, as mothers are. And seeing things through her eyes is painful, but so beautiful. Our mommy is a survivor, and I'm so grateful that we get to sit down with her and document the journey of a mother through pain, grief, heartache, prayer, connection, faith, and, just gritty humanity and resilience.
Love you, mommy.
We love you, mommy. Hi, mommy.
Hi, ladies.
Aww.
Mommy's in safe space. Mommy's in our safe space.
Mommy, what do you think about us having a podcast?
I love it.
You do?
Yeah. I love seeing what you guys put together. I've seen several of your interviewees, and to me, they're very interesting, really awesome stuff to be talking about out there.
Thanks, Mom.
Let's just jump right in.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you just have such a unique perspective on what we went through as a family, like as the mama. And I hate to admit this, but I don't feel like I know enough about your experience throughout the years and like your internal experience and what you were battling with in your mind and in your heart and like how you were getting through things. I want to document it for myself, but I also think for other parents out there who might be going through this, or just people in general, to have another way to connect to what this experience is like. And
absolutely,
life as a mother.
We need help. We need to help each other.
Totally.
It's very true.
Well, Mama, we're going to take it back. What about your childhood stands out to you? Like anything notable that you would feel like would help people get to know where you're coming from and who you are?
Sure. Being the 9th of 11.
Big number.
Nobody is that consequential. We weren't wealthy. So we learned early on in life not to waste, to make do. And I learned how to sew because I asked my mom if I could have a 2-piece bathing suit. And she said, if you'll make it, you can have it. And we went shopping.
Okay, Graham.
We got the pattern, we got the fabric, and I made a bathing suit for myself. And
you're a legend for actually doing that.
And I was 9 years old.
Wow.
That started me. You feel like you can do stuff.
Yeah.
You can make a difference in your life. And I started working when I was 11, babysitting other people's kids.
Yeah.
And that was the only way I was able to go shopping.
Yeah.
Was to earn my own money, and then I could go out there. But the real thing, being the 9th of 11, I learned a lot from observation, from watching the people above me. You pick up stuff.
Yeah. I can
your
definitely
parents
relate to
teach
you on
you
that.
things. And my mom was super strict. Like we learned early on, you're not going to, say no to her.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, there will be a consequence. And we learned how to take care of like a house. We all had jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned how to take care of things. And I think that really prepared me for being a mom and for running a household. I saw my mom doing it, and I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense with who you are.
I know,
You're
really
such
does.
a doer. Like you
are.
And you tinker with anything. You're not afraid to tinker and try. That makes so much sense to hear you say that that's such a formative part of your... You're
a sewer and a builder and a chef and a baker, and you just, you are not afraid to take on a challenge at all. You just get shit done.
That was life. And so then you're like, all things are possible. Yeah. And it's just a powerful way, I feel now that I was blessed to grow up in the time I grew up. Because now, there's so many distractions with little devices. They can do a lot. There's amazing stuff we have right at our fingertips. But I feel like a lot of people don't know how to do some of the more basic things in life for themselves.
Definitely.
Can you share with us a little bit about how you met our dad, your husband?
Oh, sure. So, Michael.
Oh my gosh, she totally has a crush on him. She got so excited.
That was so cute.
That was adorable.
Oh, yeah. I was in the schoolyard. It was August. We didn't start school until after Labor Day.
What grade? How old?
I was going into 10th grade. So it was what would that be? 71. So how old was I? 16?
Probably 15.
15, 16, somewhere around there.
We had just had volleyball practice, and into the schoolyard rides this guy on a 10-speed bicycle. And and so I was talking to the girls, most of whom had gone to school there in 9th grade. And I said, oh, well, who's that guy that just came on the bicycle?
Yeah.
And they said, that's Mike Madden. And I was like, oh, and they said his dad just passed away. And I was like, oh, he's not coming here this year. So I'm like, he's not going to come. Okay, well, whatever. On we go. And so then he came. All of a sudden, we're at school and I realized, oh, that's that guy on the bike. But anyway, by then I already had another boyfriend.
Oh. Quick mover, Mom.
No, I'm... So anyway, yeah. And then, of course, we skipped class one time and we went for a walk. Dad and I.
Of course. Yes.
Of course. We walked down to Palisades Park and we were just sitting there talking and everything. And that's how I started to get to know him. But I still had this other guy for a boyfriend.
Oh my God, Mom.
Obsessed.
Love. Keep going.
No, but
don't hate the player, hate the game, babe.
No.
Keep going.
No. But anyway, this other guy kind of just like dropped me. And so then.
Ew.
Yeah. But then, life moves on and along comes Michael. And that was kind of the beginning of everything for us.
Okay, so 52 years you guys have been together.
That's right.
Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
I actually did always think I wanted to have his kids.
Oh my God.
Mom, oh my God.
This is saucy.
Obsessed. I didn't know that.
Well, it happened too. I mean, there were some downtime there between us.
What was it like having 5 kids with someone who ended up being an addict?
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
Definitely not the life I imagined when I imagined having his children and all.
Yeah.
But it was our reality. We had brought 5 children into the world. And I kept just thinking, okay, this has got to end. This is going to end. And of course, I did everything in my power to try to convince him to stop. Everything from crying, threatening, praying. And it was its own beast. Eventually, I came to realize going to a 12-step meeting that I'm powerless over people, places, and things. And that was not something I wanted to accept. That was not something I wanted to believe. I desperately wanted to be able to make things better. And it was a real struggle for me emotionally because I did know there was a God and I did know that God could heal. And it just was a beast of a different kind. And I think that's one of the darkest sides of this life is addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an insidious mental cancer It just invades all of you. Physically, it takes over you eventually, but it starts mental and then it goes to spiritual, and you surrender something of yourself to that addiction. And it's very demeaning. We all know it. And there's really only one way to get out of it. And that's just to say, I'm powerless over people, places, and things, and to turn your life over to your higher power as you understand them to be. I mean, there are people who have turned their lives over to things that are inanimate, not God, but it was their higher power as they understood it to be at the time. And then they go through the process of the 12 steps. And I went through a process of 12 steps for myself. And then when it got to the point where I was literally going to watch him die, I was going to sit there and watch him die. And I just thought, I have to go. I have to go. My children have to survive. I have to be the one to help them do that. We're out of here. I'm out of here. And you're going to have to figure all that out yourself, because I can't stop you. I can't control you, but I can control me.
Mm-hmm.
And that means I can take up my kids, go home to mom,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael can figure out for himself what matters to him and what he's going to do about it.
Damn.
I love you. I'm sorry.
This
you had
is
to
really
go through
emotional.
that.
I love you.
I'm really sorry you
guys.
had to go through that.
Well, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't know God like I do now.
Let's start talking about Ryan, because there's so much to unpack. I mean, Ryan's your firstborn. He's your only son.
Yeah.
What was he like as a kid from your eyes? Like, quick description of him. What were the standout things about Ryan?
He was very animated. He loved to have fun. I mean, even when he was like 9 months old, he put his foot up on his car seat and he just laughed like he had the biggest joke. We were having the most fun. I mean, he just loved life.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan loved life from early on.
Mm-hmm.
How old was Ryan when he was incarcerated for the first time? And what was that experience like as a mom, seeing your young child enter into that system?
It was horrific. Michael wasn't with us. He was 14 and a half when Ryan was spinning out of control.
What was your mindset about like helping him get out of this cycle of punishment and incarceration and confinement and stuff as a kid? And what did you think would help him at that time?
Obviously, counseling. At one point I went to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station with him. A bunch of other young teenagers were there, and they took him to Camp David Gonzales so they could hear from those guys there what was down the pike. And, I did whatever I could to put the fear of God in him, to shake some common sense into him. I had to be firm with him because that's what worked for me and my siblings growing up. So it was like, look, this is the story, you've got to just know this and accept it, You just have to do your work and get through class. It doesn't matter if the teacher doesn't know what she's talking about. Just get an A, get the hell out of there and move on. This is just part of your journey. Let's keep it going forward,
What do you think that maybe he didn't have that would have helped at that time? Like if you were to look in retrospect and you think about it now, like, or even then, what were you hoping that he could have had to help him that maybe you didn't have access to? Or...
Okay. At the time, I felt like he needed a firm hand. He needed a rod. He needed something to scare him straight, if you will. Okay. So that could have been his dad. That could have been the cops. That was the only reason that they said, do you want us to take him to juvenile hall overnight for a reality check? this was the point at which we were, and this was the next step. And I said yes, but I screamed my brains out when they took him out the door and put him in the cop car. I couldn't believe it was happening. I was shaking. This was horrible. But then when I called the next day, they wouldn't let me have him. I couldn't come get him. I thought I was going to come get him. Dad came and we were going to both go get him. And they said, no, he has a court date on Wednesday. So this was Friday.
So they lied to you.
Yeah, they lied to me. They told me overnight for a reality check. This was Friday night. Dad and I tried several times. They finally let us talk to him on Sunday. And he had a court date on Wednesday. Come to find out when we got to court, they were charging him with terrorist threat.
Oh my God. Wow. No matter what you said to advocate for him or to try and tell them, like, I don't want anything to happen. I'm his mother. I want to just take care of him myself and protect him myself. They just wouldn't listen to you and wouldn't have it.
I mean, of course I thought that and I felt that, but I didn't feel like I was allowed to say it. Dad and I both thought, okay, these are the authorities. This is what they're telling us is supposed to happen right now and is going to happen. And again, I didn't know it was a terrorist threat till I got there and sat and waited an hour and then got in court. And my kid's, sitting in front of me, can't sit with me, with his back to me, and the judge is up there and they're talking to him and us,
And he's 14.
Yeah.
I want to cry for you. That's so fucked up.
It was. It was all screwed up. Everything was screwed up. I had no idea this was going to happen. I grew up the daughter of a colonel in the United States Air Force. When we drove on base to go to the commissary, we saluted to the guys. Authority wasn't something that was a problem for me. It was part of life. And I didn't know all these things, that the brain hasn't developed and that they need a man in the house. But they don't just need a man. They don't need a man who's going to beat them or something, which his dad didn't do. But I'm saying it's not just a man. They need someone they can follow, even if they choose not to. I didn't know this. And even after Michael came back and we were all back together, by then I think he was super angry and scared. Like, I think it comforted him that we were making the best of it and kind of coming back whole. But I think at that point he was like, hell no, you screwed up and you screwed with me. And I'm not happy about it. I don't trust you. And I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he pretty much just ran with that. And no matter what I tried to do, me going and visiting him continually, talking with him, bringing books to him.
Best mom. This mom is the most diligently present, always there. If it was open, she was there. Everybody who knows her knows it.
Yeah, and he appreciated it. I mean, his last things he kept saying to the guards was, I need my family. I need to be with them. And he had learned that what he was trying to run away from, what he was trying to disconnect from, that had caused him so much pain, was actually helping him, was actually loving him.
I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
I think it's complicated because it was hurting him for a really long time.
Yes.
And I think all of us over time evolved and really have become a very solid support system for each other. But I think all of us were underwater for a long time and really didn't even know how to support ourselves, let alone him consistently. Obviously, you were so consistent with him. Just like Casey said, you always were and always have been. And that's just a fact. But I definitely think that, by the end of everything, like the closeness of our family had solidified itself. And we did become like his safe space to go to in a lot of ways that it definitely probably would not have been in his youth. So it's complicated. Let's take it to when he was wrongfully convicted. What was that like for you? emotionally? What was your reaction, your response to him being wrongfully convicted?
So it was all wrong from the beginning to the end. We knew Ryan had not committed these crimes. I would say I was in shock, but also I thought we would get him out again. All of our experience, all my frame of reference was we'll get an attorney, the attorney will straighten this out, that kind of thing. I had no concept of an innocent person spending a decade or more in prison for something they didn't do. That was not in my life, and I didn't expect that to be the case then. So I was shocked that it happened, and I was, ready to roll my shirt sleeves up and take on this next jaunt of the journey with him, always hoping that Ryan would pull himself out of the dive, because there's just some stuff nobody can do but you, for yourself. And he did it in prison. He was so smart. He thought, okay, I didn't commit these crimes. This can't go on. This is a travesty. This has to get fixed. And it wasn't getting fixed.
How would you describe your experience in having a son in prison?
It was horrific. You sometimes can't touch them. You definitely can't protect them. And I had already gone through that with him in juvenile hall, and the camps were a little less so, but he was still in camp. You had to wait. You had to do things a certain way. You couldn't just walk in and go into a apartment and hang out with him. It all had to be done in certain areas where you were allowed to visit under certain circumstances at certain times of the day. So I had already been experiencing that kind of separation from him. I had already cried my eyes out leaving juvenile hall so many times, having to leave him behind. He was so young, and it was so foreign to me to ever leave your child with strangers. So I had already gone through this so much that it was the next level of that.
Yeah. What was your guys' relationship like throughout his time in prison? You were so present with him, and you guys were really, really close. And I want to hear about your connection to him. And
my relationship with him while he was in prison, at first it was a little tough because it was a fresh experience for him being in that very dangerous and scary and dark and hard environment. I mean, you could see it on him, and you could feel it. And you could feel it from the guards. They were very different than the guards at juvenile hall.
mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the guards at juvenile hall were all good,
Mm-hmm.
but, it's just a level of coldness and of separation that I had not yet experienced. So at first, he was angry. He was anxious all the time. And he always had us. His dad wrote some really good letters to wardens when stuff was going off the rails on Ryan. Basically, the warden, they don't like it when people on the outside know what's going on the inside.
Of course.
And so we were just calling them out. And we did that with a couple different wardens.
You guys were Dad was, he had his fingers tapping on that keyboard.
But talk about your relationship with him while he was in prison. What was that like?
Yeah. So, I was the complaint department, as moms are for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest pain when you guys were babies was leaving you in the crib to cry, because I felt like you were in prison. And here I was in a real situation where my kid really was crying in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was going to be there any way I could, any way that I had to, of course, write him letters, take his calls, send him the books he needed, communicate with Dad about attorneys or something if Ryan needed an answer, about how's it going with the Innocence Matters people or the Innocence Project people. I mean, we had so many different things we were trying to do to help him, but I was just basically being the front man for anything and everything that I could for him.
Mm-hmm.
And going to visit him. And I just always loved seeing him come through that doorway.
Mm.
And then I always got to be the first person to hug him.
You did.
You did.
And give him the biggest kiss. And he loved it.
He loved it.
Uh-huh. You loved him
He's
some mama.
such a snuggler.
Yes, he was. And at the end, he said, they're trying to give me 6 more months of take away my visits for another year. So 6 months, no visits at all. And then 6 months at the end of that year of visits through glass instead of contact visits.
Mm-hmm.
And, it just wore him out. It was too much at that point that he could not take it mentally.
Yeah.
What do you, and I know this answer is your child, but maybe I don't know the full answer. What do you think got you through the pain of that experience in that time of life?
Prayer, a lot of prayer, constant prayer, seeing my prayers answered, insane things happening that I knew that God Almighty was answering my prayers. And because of how it happens, that it was not a coincidence. It was not an accident. And the change in Ryan's heart, the joy in his heart. I mean, the letters that he wrote were profound. And he was so happy and so just full of joy. It's not happy. He was full of joy in the spite of where he was and what had been going on and what was going on. Now, it wore him down over time again because that was the nature of the beast, to wear us down and to dishearten us and to make us feel defeated and to make us afraid of the future of what could happen, what might happen, what won't happen, all kinds of stuff. And so that's the nature of this struggle, and in there, he really was isolated and he really was in a literally dark place. Like these cells were dark, he needed sunlight. He needed vitamin C, D, whatever. He needed a lot of things that they don't get in there. So how did I get through all of that? Hoping that we would all get through it and that it would end.
What was your hope for Ryan and for the outcome of this situation?
Well, I really hoped that he would, first of all, come home safe and sound, and that we could all nurture him and help him mend. But also that he would be exonerated, of course, because he didn't commit those crimes and because that's what we want. We want to see justice in our world, and particularly justice in our personal lives. And we could have written a book together. I mean, obviously, I wanted him to have a life after that. I wanted him to find a good woman and have a family, even, whatever, but
after a very long, brutal journey with Ryan's incarceration, obviously it did not end how any of us would have wanted it to. And that is a very painful truth that I think all of us probably wake up every day wishing would be different. If you're willing, and this is really vulnerable, so I don't know, I'm honestly sorry for asking it, but if you're willing to share what the experience was like for you when you learned that Ryan had passed, I think it's a really impactful story.
Well, I was in bed and my phone was right next to me and it rang. It was about 12:25 at night, 12:35. And it said Lancaster State Prison because, like I said, I had the number in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's not Ryan calling. Could that be Ryan calling this time of night, from their state phone?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I answered it. And the man said, this is Sergeant so-and-so or Lieutenant so-and-so. And I'm calling to tell you that when we were doing the late night cell check, we found your son unresponsive. We tried to revive him and we were unsuccessful. And the words were just like vibrating in my head and they were bouncing off of my brain. And I was like, I could have revived him. That's what I thought. I could have revived him.
Oh,
If I was there, I could have done this.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, no, 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 no. And then I said, wait a minute, I have to go get my husband. And so I went downstairs and I said, Michael, Ryan has died. And his face just froze. He was just like, I handed the phone to him and he took the phone and the guy said, who is this, please? And he said, this is Michael Madden, Ryan's dad, because I was the one whose number was in there for medical information. And we got off the phone and we just started crying. We just started crying and hugging each other. And I remember saying, I just turned my head to the side and I just said, you got him. And I was basically speaking to Satan. And then immediately the next thought came in my mind, but not really. And I knew that meant that Ryan, his heart and his soul was God's. He wasn't gotten, but he was gotten. And the thing is, it was sort of like I was in no man's land for hours and hours, because even with Dad and I crying in the kitchen and just like trying to figure out what to do, if anything, or what could we, how to be, just how to exist now. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do. I just knew that my life had changed a lot and there was absolutely nothing that I could ever do to put it back.
Yeah.
Is there
I'm
any
sorry.
way to describe what it feels like to lose a kid?
You're losing your future. You're losing some of your future. You're losing some of your dreams, obviously, some of your hopes. You are losing the ability to protect them, and you realize that you weren't able to protect them. That's really hard. And you just feel sorry. You feel sad. You feel sad for everyone, for him most especially. And you just want to go hug him. You just want to go take his body in your arms and just hold him and just say, I love you. And I always will love you. But, I realized when we posted it, somebody posted it on Facebook, and I think it was Carrie. And so I put a response on there. And as I was typing the response, I had never thought this before, but it was absolutely freeing. I said, you know what? He's free. This earth couldn't hold him, couldn't contain him anymore. I mean, that was so joyful a thought to me, because I didn't realize how much his incarceration had been weighing on me in the background. Part of me thought, okay, Ryan, this is your journey, but you're going to get through it. Now it was like, you're through it. It's over. No more. They can't torment you. They can't imprison you. They can't chain you. They can't do anything to you. You're free. And I realized when I was writing that on Facebook, this earth couldn't contain him, detain him anymore. I just thought, hallelujah, hallelujah. And then when I was on the yoga mat a few days later, and he said, we talk about how he said, Mama, it was him.
You heard it in your head. I don't know if they'll understand what you mean.
Yeah, she had an experience on when she went to a yoga class a couple days after he passed. It was maybe a week after he passed.
Exactly a week. As a matter of fact, the last time I had spoken to him was before my yoga class the previous Saturday. We had a call, and he didn't sound good. And I felt bad when I got off the phone, but I went into my yoga class anyways. Now it's a week later. It's been almost a week since I got the news, because I got it Sunday morning, if you will. So I thought, okay, if I can't do this, I can leave, but I'll go in here and I'll do my best. And the new teacher had us all start on our backs on our yoga mats. And she was talking about breathing. You know how they coach you to breathe and all the stuff. And I was doing that. And in my mind, it was all of a sudden, Mama, just exactly the way he said it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I thought, I love you. I miss you. I'm praying for you. And then I said, are you okay? And I didn't know why I was asking Ryan if he was okay, because I knew that he was dead. And that wasn't okay for me or with any of us. And I didn't understand, why are you asking? As I was saying it, I was like, that's weird. But then my whole body became filled with, like, it was almost like a vibrating joy and peace and love all in one. Like every cell of my body, like my toenails, my hair, everything was just like full of this peace and this joy. And I remember saying to him, thank you. And I remember saying, you're extra specially special. And I said, I love you a number of times. And then he said it again, Mama. And the flood flowed through me again. And he said, thank you. I love you so much. I miss you. God bless you. And it kind of drifted away. But it was 100% real. 100%.
I remember you called me after too, and he said something about, or you conveyed something about me finishing school.
Yes, I finished the yoga class, and I honestly can't tell you that there was anything exceptional about that yoga class.
It was at the rec center.
Yeah, but not only that, it was like I just did it like I always did. Yeah. So this thing that happened at the beginning of the class was totally separate from, in my mind and in my whole existence, from the yoga class, because I just did the yoga class like I did it always. And then when I left, I got this sudden surge of excitement. I had just interacted with my son, and I was in the car, I'm rolling down the windows. It's a sunny Saturday morning, and I'm like, Casey has to finish school. Ryan wants Casey to finish school. I knew that. I just knew it. And I went and I told her, Ryan wants you to finish school. I knew Casey needed to want to finish school. So it wasn't just about what Ryan wanted.
No, it was enough for Ryan to want me to finish school.
And, and he wanted the best for all of you guys. But I don't know why. I just had this flush of emotion, of excitement and joy to tell you that when I was driving home. And it's like, I don't know what I said to everyone, but I couldn't wait to tell people that this had happened. And the main thing I got from it is that Ryan is good. He is good. He's not just free. He is good, So obviously that was a tremendous comfort to me.
How has it been for you to walk your grief journey? What's kept you going through it? And how are you honestly doing now?
That experience on the yoga mat obviously set me on a better place than what I had been on the whole week prior after he died. And then from there, basically, I just came to terms with life after death. It's been, sometimes I even ask Ryan, and I think you guys have said this, Ryan, help her or help us or, he's in my life. I mean, we had those big pictures on the wall for 5 years. And the only reason we took them down is because the wall was going to be painted again. And we wanted to keep him in our lives, both Dad and I. I mean, we just loved seeing that picture of us and you kids all together. It was heartwarming, let's put it that way, to see him, to know, yes, you were here. You were with us. Yeah. But other than that, again, one of my biggest comforts is that Ryan isn't suffering, because I really feel like he had a very tender heart and I trust God. So my biggest way of getting down the road of life through this journey is to keep saying, Lord, you're right in all your ways, in all your decisions. I trust you.
So your faith is what's getting you through it.
Where do you feel like you're at in your grief journey right now? How does your spirit feel?
I feel like I need to fight on. I need to grow. When this happened, it slayed me. It knocked me down. And yeah, we kept going. We all kept going. It's knocked us all back. But I feel like if I really trust God and His goodness, I should be looking for His goodness in my life, and I should be trusting in His goodness. Of course, you guys are an amazing part of it, but it's also because I'm getting older and I have arthritis that, you start thinking, okay, why do we have to keep doing this? But there's goodness ahead. There's goodness in store. I need to keep reaching for that. I need to rejuvenate that part of me. And it's going to take God's grace to do it. I mean, it seems like it's already happening. And I think that that's why, God is just opening my eyes to another part of me, another side of me, and I want to receive that, and I want to realize whatever He has in store for me.
So it sounds like you're saying you've struggled to see the goodness that remains in life and what could still be in store for you ahead, but you feel like having faith means that you want to open yourself up to what is still here for you. So it sounds like you've said you've struggled with seeing a path forward.
Yeah, I didn't care about a path forward.
Yeah,
I was in the moment. I care about all of you. When I see you, I love it and I hug you and I enjoy you. But what particular goals can I accomplish in my life personally for me besides as a grandma? Because I love being a mom and a grandma. That's the thing that really warms my heart. But I'm a person too.
Yeah, you are. That's what we keep trying to get you to see.
I know you do. And I'm coming, Casey. I'm hard-headed.
I just feel so bad because my whole life you were the type of person that you unwaveringly saw the good in every situation, even when things were really bad. And it's just been a very painful part of this experience to see your light dimmed, because it was just not ever anything that I knew of you. And I've been seeing you try to fight through that experience for all of us, for the 4 of us, and then for the 3 little ones. But it's just painful. It just it hurts me for you that that was taken from you. I feel like I watched your innocence be taken kind of in a way when you lost Ryan. You just had an unshakable faith in goodness prevailing. And I know that you believe that his passing is God's will. And I believe that too, despite it not being my plan and it being painful. I feel that too. But it just hurts. It's in the same way it hurts you to watch me suffer and for my innocence to be taken and for me to understand the pain. You're just such a sweet, good soul. And this experience has just I mean, when you said it slayed you, like it did, from my perspective, it did. And it and I'm not saying that like, oh, I suffered from it, like from not getting the mom that I needed. Like, you are the mom that I need and you have been. It just hurts me to watch that be taken from you, and for you to have to fight so hard to get it back after all that you've already had to fight.
And I'm not ever going to get it back, but what it's going to be is I'm committing to myself right now in front of you guys, so you're witnesses, that I am going to embrace the future, whatever it may be, with the goodness and the strength that God gives me from Himself to just discover what He has for me, to uncover what He has for me, to realize it in my life. And hopefully it's something you guys can see. And really, I feel like a lot of the progress we make in life is digging in the ditches. It's just doing the little incremental gritty stuff that you don't even feel like doing, and then admitting to yourself if you're afraid of something and facing that fear. Those are the little things. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, stuff happens. It comes in, it flows.
Yeah.
And so we're just responsible for what we can do, because God will do what only He can do.
Yeah, I hear you, girl. What would you tell a mother who is grieving the loss of her child? How would you help her?
I would say, let's be grateful for what we had. Please be grateful for the blessing of that child in your life, because that part of your heart needs to be nurtured. You need to remember the joy of the gift of that person. They may not be in your life now, but their memory is, the experience of them is, you lived years of your life with them. Nobody can take that away from you ever. The hugs, the moments, nobody can take that away from you. They're yours. And lastly, but not the least, is God is good. What has happened isn't necessarily good. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. It may have been one of the most viciously evil things that could ever happen. We know that happens in life, but we know ultimately that there's life after this. And the good God that made us, that made your child, is with them. Just continue to lift that child up in prayer to God. Continue to thank God and hold their memory in your heart.
What do you feel like are the biggest things that you've learned going through this experience, through all of it, through the incarceration, the struggles with addiction from many different angles in your life, the grief, all of it?
That life is a journey, that suffering brings you closer to God. He's with us in suffering, all of us, all the time. And that we meet God a lot of the times in the down times, in the suffering. That's where we find Him. We meet Him. We get to know Him and understand His goodness more and more. So have hope, be enheartened. Is that a word?
We're going to make it.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's life after this, and yet there's a lot of beauty here that you can still embrace and you can still find with the loved ones and the friends that you have around you.
Totally. I love you.
Love you, Mommy.
Love you guys.
Thank you for
You did
being
such a
willing
good job.
to talk about this stuff. I know it's
Yeah.
really hard.
How do you feel?
I think about it a lot. I feel good. I really
Good.
do. As a matter of fact, I think it was really cool that I kind of walked through that whole process that I'm already on the road to with you guys.
Yeah.
And kind of, you're my witnesses. So now I've said it out loud. I
Yeah.
haven't even
We're
said
your
it to Dad.
accountability partners.
Exactly. Oh, I love it.
You're so cute.
Love
you,
you.
Mommy.